Welcome to this interview. This was an exciting episode with Roman. We talk about Simpleassets, all the other projects that Cryptolions are working on as Koloboks, Simplemarket, Jungle Testnet, which is the biggest testnet on EOS, how he came from Bitcoin, where he got his first Bitcoin. He said he got 7 or 8 Bitcoin for writing an article, which is kind of exciting if you look at the value of Bitcoin today, but this was in 2012, a long time ago. He had a chance to respond to some of Jonas' comments about Simpleassets, and he put his perspective on this situation where he thinks that Simpleassets is doing everything correct. And I want to point out right here and now, I'm not saying A or B is better than the other. I'm allowing both of them to speak openly about the situation. So this is very exciting. And on top of that, Roman also dropped a lot of announcement on us. Koloboks is coming with a new edition next week. We're seeing improvements on simpleasset.io. We're seeing improvements on the Simple Market that's coming with the new GPK launch, and a lot more content like this. So dig in, find out where he started on Stanford, going into the army, and perhaps one or two more interesting aspects. Let's jump in. Welcome, Roman. Welcome to this interview. First, let me say that I'm very psyched that you're here. I know what you have done for a few years. Since you joined the EOS.io space, I've been watching from afar. And first, let's introduce yourself. Who is Roman and where do you come from?
Well, thank you for having me, Anders. I love your show. I love your content. I love your sort of community engagement. That's a very important job. Well, my name is Roman. I'm one of the co-founders of Cryptolions. If I can say so, we were one of the EOS original gangsters, together with the prestigious team from Sweden and several others.
Yeah, I think you can call yourself that.
And I'll say that I'm the junior partner of Cryptolions. It's mostly built around the enthusiasm and talent of Bogdan, but me as the native English speaker, the community more often interacts with me.
Yeah, that's good. So you're the native English speaker. What's your background? Why are you working with Cryptolions?
Well, let's see. How about I tell you my whole crypto story, because it has a couple of funny moments. So way back in 2012 or so, in the era of I still have the T-shirt. In the era of the Ron Paul revolution.
Yeah.
I was writing for a libertarian blog, and the editor said, do you want to get paid in Bitcoin or in dollars? And I said, what's Bitcoin? Looks kind of cool, but I don't have time for it. Pay me in dollars. So he paid me $20.
Yeah.
And then for the next story, he said, look, I don't believe in fractional reserve banking. I've gone full crypto. For your second story, you have to take Bitcoin. And for me, it was a huge inconvenience. I needed to install some software and figure out how it worked. And then I received my first 7 or 8 Bitcoin.
It's good for an article, at least in today's value.
Yes. Of course, I didn't ride it all the way up. I think I sold at $100 and I thought I was very smart. But so that's how I got into crypto. Right around that time, Bogdan and I, we became friends, and we tried to build a Bitcoin gaming site following in the footsteps of Satoshi Dice. I'm not sure if you remember Satoshi Dice. And we had a lovely concept. I still love this concept. You would bet on which mining pool would mine future blocks on the Bitcoin blockchain. So all the bets would go into a pool, and the winners would take all, in proportion of their bets to the other bets. So it was a very interesting concept, but we were a little niche of a niche, and we just shut down the project after a while. Satoshi Dice and a few other sort of the first ones, they owned the whole market, and we didn't get very far. But we kind of kept our finger on the pulse of the crypto community. Cryptolions was in fact the name of our Slack channel that we just kind of gossip about crypto. And right around EOS's launch, prior to its launch, like it was just sort of the stars aligned, where Bogdan worked as head of IT. They were bought out by Ericsson, who had their own, speaking of Sweden, who had their own IT department. And I wasn't happy where I was working, or I just wanted to move on from where I was working as a CTO. And I did. And we created Cryptolions, worked on Cryptolions like as hard as I worked on anything. Like that's what happens when you love what you do. We're joined by our third co-founder, Sudeep, who kind of rounds out the team. He has like a really broad perspective, really good at like talking to people and figuring out how things work. So that's Cryptolions. That's the three of us.
Yeah, and me that have been a part of the EOS ecosystem in different ways have seen you everywhere. You were one of the first EOS block producers that were transparent with your block rewards and everything. We had a vision that every team should be like that. Every team should disclose where they get, what funds they get, and spread it. And so far, it was pretty much just our two teams, perhaps one or two more that did it for the first while.
I remember some early rating of block producer transparency, and Sweden, New York, and Cryptolions were the only three passing grades. But it turned out that wasn't the most important thing in the world. You know, block producers were beholden to the voters and what they want. That's to a significant extent, that's what we do.
Yeah, for sure. It's a different world now on that ecosystem than it was before.
Yep.
So that's cool. I didn't know that you built a cool game for the. Actually, I liked the idea. I never knew that there existed a game like that where you could bet on the future, the mining pool that found the future block. So that's pretty cool. It would be pretty easy to do that on EOS.io though, because we know who will mint which one in the future.
Yeah, it was actually a hard technical problem on Bitcoin because it isn't obvious which mining pool mines a block. So we had to like look at different things and sort of take the balance of evidence. And I don't know if the Bitcoin talk forums are still in existence, but if you look for betting blocks or else block 777, we rebranded, you can find long threads about people playing our game.
Yeah, that's nice. It's fun. I know that you have at least one game built for EOS.io as well.
Yes, we sure do. Thank you for asking. So we built a game called Kolobok. Kolobok is sort of the Eastern European version of the gingerbread man fairy tale. And it's a simple breeding. It started as a simple breeding game. And mostly it was a demo for Simpleassets. So we just wanted to show developers the code is open source, except for the breeding algorithm. We just wanted to show developers how you could integrate Simpleassets. And we added an adventures concept to it where you can run away from a rabbit or a wolf or a fox. And this week, so stay tuned to kolobok.io, KOLOBOK.io. We're releasing Kolobok bounties. So we will pay you in cryptocurrency for the prizes that you find, if it's the current bounty. So this is like when we have little gaps in time in our availability, we're going to do little upgrades to Kolobok. So there might be no upgrades for a long time if we're busy on other stuff, but if we see a little something simple that sort of captures our imagination, we're going to grow it. And I think after some time, there's going to be a whole Kolobok universe, a lot of games within the game.
It's very fun that you have a project to showcase Simpleasset that's growing. It's like a small love project that will keep growing over the time. Yeah, that's very nice. I will make sure to link it below so people can try it out and we can share it when it's live for real. And perhaps we will actually go further into that later to talk about I guess I would say breeding of the koloboks, or however you would use it. I know that someone in the wax community made one and named it Anders, and EOS Deck bought it, so they officially control me on the kolobok. So so that's nice. But your background before crypto, what did you do then?
Well, I have my life took a pretty atypical trajectory, as we discussed before the show. So no kidding, there I was, uh, at Stanford University, computer science major, height of the internet bubble, the first internet bubble, 2000. I am a zennial, like right in between X and millennial. Uh, so right there, my classmates at Stanford are getting like six digit salaries like right out of the gate because Silicon Valley is just starving for talent. And what do? I joined the army, and and not any kind of technical job either. I was an infantry officer, and I ended up in America's paratrooper division, the 82nd, and I was in the army for 4.5 years, and then I got out. I thought I was finished, and then a big hand came out of the sky and grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and pulled me back into the army for another year and a half.
Oh, so
Not
so
sure, not
so
sure I would do it again. Like it definitely, and I saw three combat tours, Iraq and Afghanistan, twice to Afghanistan. uh Again, it's kind of like a mixed bag. Like it definitely broadens your perspective, humbles you in a lot of ways. uh I met some of the most amazing people that I'll probably ever meet in my life, but it's just the whole enterprise was just so wasteful and so pointless. And I hate to think that I risked my life for something that stupid. So like it's not a wash. I wouldn't say absolutely no, but I think I could have done better both for myself and sort of my community if I just stayed professional and gone to work after graduating.
I feel like I don't have the military experience, but I feel like it's a strong pursuit for personal growth. Doing that.
That's definitely true. Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
like I believe in the institution, but man, we're that's I guess that's part of what drew me to this man Ron Paul. After I got out, I found some solace that at least some people were talking sense.
yeah. Uh, yeah, it's very interesting, and that background I never heard about it before you mentioned it, so it's very interesting to get to know the people that I've seen in all the communities all the time, and a little bit more about that background.
Well, let me make a little personal plug right here. If anybody wants some additional perspective, you can go to Amazon and search for any one of three short novellas by me, which I self-published some time ago.
Cool.
They sold a little bit when I published them, and then I think they're forgotten now. But they're there, and I think I'm pretty proud of them. So if anyone wants a little deeper perspective, check those out.
Do you have a short part what they are about?
One of them, well, it's a little depressing to talk about. One of them is about a young officer, as I was. It's autobiographical, going to speak to an Iraqi family whose boy was killed by the U.S. military.
Hmm.
And I hate to put such a dark cloud over this interview because it's really about fun stuff, this interview. But that's something I had a little bit of experience with. Not a fun job.
No, I
The
can't
next
imagine.
one is about Convoy just leaving Iraq, just like all the sights and smells and emotions of leaving Iraq. And the last one is about sort of just a camping trip with veterans, and a few of them are going back to Iraq, and one is not.
No. So the last one, the camping trick, sounds like the most positive one. Uh,
Perhaps.
no, but
Well, let's shift to happier news. As I
yeah.
understand, you just went on a camping trip. How was
Yeah,
it?
well, kinda. We have a small, well, we have a 15-acre farm. My grandpa grew up there. They were self-sufficient. They had some animals. They grew food. They had their three small farms at that place, and together they made everything they needed there. So, and that's still in the family. It's like no neighbors. It's the middle of nowhere in the woods. we walk 15 minutes. We're down to a lake where we have the right to fish with nets and everything.
Oh, beautiful.
So we love to go there, and currently we don't use the fields around our house, so we allow the farmers nearby to have cows there. So when we go there, there's animals alive. Yeah, it's a fun place to be. It's very relaxing. It's very nice, and of course we have fiber internet in the middle of nowhere. So
that's amazing.
So we can work.
That sounds very close to ideal.
Yeah, it's very good. Every time you're there, you feel like, oh, I should live there. But then I think that places like that, you should travel to those places and really experience and enjoy them, because if you live there, it's your everyday life. I feel like you start to take things for granted, and you won't really appreciate the beauty and the relaxation and everything that it involves. So yeah. So that's a very positive trip. I try to go there a few times per year and just relax, and we have like 20 cherry trees, so we have a lot of cherries to eat when we are there at the right time. And of course they are ready in 1 or 2 weeks from now, but it was fun anyway.
Ukraine's cherry trees are already in bloom. I think the seasons start in the south and then move northwards.
Yeah, the blooming was before, but we don't have the
or not
fruit,
blooming.
so,
I mean, already ripe.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we get it in. It could be in just a few days. It goes pretty fast when it starts. So yeah, it's beautiful. I can add a picture in the link below to the place. It's fantastic. So Stanford, any of your friends? A quick question: did it go well for them?
Did what go well for them?
For yeah, they started with the 6 figures salaries in the internet bubble.
Hey, look, I sat in the same lecture halls as the founders of Google, you know. So I didn't know them. although I think I knew a lady who was like employee number 8 at Google. So yeah, so they did well.
Yeah.
I've got better stories to tell though, so it's a trade-off.
Yeah. Yeah, you have experience in a different field. But that's nice. Okay, this is a good question. Jonah got this question, so perhaps you will have an answer for it or not. What is your first food memory?
Well, I had a wonderful childhood. I grew up in New York, and my aunt had a country home, perhaps somewhat like the country home that you describe. It was an old converted farm with 20 acres and a little stream across the street. And my earliest child memory is roasting hot dogs on a stick on an open fire and balancing the bun on the hot dog so you can toast it a little bit.
Nice.
And quite a good memory from what was quite a good childhood.
That sounds awesome to have an experience like, yeah. I can really relate, because I've done the same thing. We have a nice fireplace set up, and yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, that's a good memory. When you think about it, it makes me happy as well, and I wasn't even there, so that's a positive one. And when you're not doing your crypto work, which is you can't leave a lot of time because your guys are doing a lot of things. But do you have any hobbies? Do you have any interest outside of the EOS.io and crypto space?
Well, I'm a dad now, which I love. We had our second child a few months ago.
Congratulations.
So yeah, thank you. It's great. I recommend it. So a lot of time goes into family. I gave up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I used to do a lot of submission grappling, not at a high level, but very enthusiastically. I love that, but now I kind of keep it closer to home, and I just put time into family. I am kind of hiding, although I'll give you a big reveal here on your show. I am hiding an addiction to online chess. So there are worse addictions, certainly, but that is mine.
Wasn't Scatter team building a chess game for EOS.io? I think.
Oh, that would be phenomenal.
I think it would be... they were Rami was talking about it, but it was a year ago, and I haven't really seen it, so perhaps it died. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're playing a lot of chess.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
nice. For my 30th birthday, I got a nice piece of like a real chessboard with nice pieces and everything. They have some weight in them. Yeah, it's really nice. I have a small kid as well, or I would have it on my table here at all times. So I want the chessboard out there. So if someone feels like playing when they're here, they should play the game. Like it shouldn't be hidden away. It should be there. I think it's a nice feature in the house. So I really
Cool.
enjoy chess as well. Um, so, okay, let's dig into what Cryptolions have done so far. I don't know if we should start all the way back to before EOS was launched. Let's start from the beginning. When did you join the EOS IO space, and what was your experience back then?
It was before launch, and again, I'm a junior partner to Bogdan. Cryptolions has been mostly his enthusiasm and his amazing work, and he followed in the wonderful footsteps of your older brother Eric. After the superhero testnet, we launched the jungle testnet. I think Eric then went on to join the Ghostbusters, the famous, or I should say infamous Ghostbusters, who were developing the launch plan. And he sort of like spent less time nurturing the testnet. So I think jungle kind of rose to prominence then, largely because a lot of the original gangsters joined the jungle community. Saeed from Blocks, Igor from Rio, Dan Larimer used to pop in there every now and then, ask how stuff was going. So I think that was our claim to fame was the jungle testnet. Our other big projects, we have a lot of small projects like a account creation portal for EOS called Zeos. For Wax, we have, so if any new Wax users want to automate their claims, their voter claims for a small fee, check out Waxy, waxy.io. Our next big project was Simpleassets. I think we'll talk about that more in a moment. And then we put a ton of time into a project that's so controversial, we're not certain that we should launch it. And that project is Prometheus. It's a way to store files on chain. And we like the name Prometheus because, like fire, it can be used for great good or great evil.
Yeah, I love the idea of Prometheus, but yeah, it comes with a few risks.
Yep.
It's really interesting solution though. Yeah, you put it on Jungle and you can stream videos, and yeah, it's very interesting.
No history node required. We've streamed 800 megabyte videos.
Yeah, off the blockchain.
Although, yeah, off the blockchain. We killed 4 jungle block producers.
Yeah. Well, you can stream a video, or you can have a stable network. So yeah. But idea is good, and it could have some potential use cases in the future for sure.
We're gonna have to, I think in Wax, we're gonna have to have some like governance calls and figure some stuff out, some ground rules. There's some like principles that we ought to be articulating.
Yeah, for sure. And just to drop it, Jungle is still the most used EOS testnet up to this date, and we are up to version 3 now. So
yeah, two is still the active one. We haven't put in the time to do the transition. That's mostly a communication job, and we've been really busy with Simpleassets and Simplemarket. And actually, this might be a good segue into the next topic because so many people, not just us, we're the curators of the jungle community, but there are so many great teams who just put in so much time and effort into jungle. We were trying to figure out a way to pay them. And so far we failed. Like maybe they get some votes for their work. I hope they do. But somebody suggested the idea that we take the Jungle Classic testnet, like the first version of Jungle, and we somehow chop it up and turn it into NFTs and then sell the pieces of the Jungle Classic testnet. Not clear how to do that at all, but that's the general concept. And that's when we looked around and said, hey, there's no big NFT standard for EOS.io. Why don't we make one? And that's how Simple Assets was born. It was born out of trying to pay jungle block producers.
And they are still not paid today.
Still not paid.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So now now we have gotten into simple assets. So let's dig into that. And now we know what brought you there. What was the reason? But I think that you had an additional picture from the get-go. It wasn't just that you wanted to pay some people on jungle. You had something else in mind. I heard pretty early on that that the game aspect was what's there. Or am I confused here?
Yeah, I mean, NFTs may very well be the killer app of blockchain. You know, like if anything has pulled in sort of non-blockchain brands, it's NFTs, which we saw last month or 2 months ago in May, when Garbage Pail Kids was launched by Topps. So NFTs may be it. That may be the thing that we've all been waiting for. So we took the establishment of this standard like very seriously, because we knew we were building something very important. Our philosophy started with the idea that that ownership is like absolutely pure, 100%. If you own something, it's like outside of the control of everybody else, outside of control of even the person that made the NFT. We spent like 2 crazy months like building everything. The first version of Simple Assets, together with the first version of Simple Market, together with Kolobok, like all 3 things came out. We put a lot of thought into separating the protocol from the marketplace, because we wanted to sort of be on an equal playing field with any potential competing marketplaces. Like we didn't want to privilege our own, which is kind of like a, you know, we want to make, like, Simple Market is our business plan. That's what pays for the development. But at the same time, if you're building an ecosystem, you need to invite competition. And we have given even like little technical support to the competing simple asset marketplaces, and we'll continue to do so, because it's different, upholding the protocol and upholding the marketplace. But anyway, after those like 2 crazy months of work, like we announced beta, and within a few days, it might have been just 2 days different, D-Goods makes a huge announcement of their plan to launch, or Mythical Games makes their announcement that they're launching D-Goods. And they're like a huge company with huge investment. They've done amazing things in the gaming space. Those guys were involved with Call of Duty. Blizzard veterans were in there. And we're like, man, maybe they'll do it. And we actually did have a call with them. And our idea was maybe we could just sell them Simple Assets. We could say, look, all the work is done. Like, here it is. Just take it. You know, you could maybe pay us a little bit, you know, for upkeep. But it was clear they had their vision and their direction, and we thought we were doing it correctly. We still think we're doing it correctly. We're very proud of the decisions that we made. So we went our separate ways. D-Goods it's gonna be something. They're gonna launch Blankos. That might be a big high budget game using D-Goods. But Simple Assets, man, it's definitely got traction.
Yeah, it has, and yeah, D-Goods will be interesting when Blankos launch. That game is very interesting, but we can.
And I guess like they're gonna do great things, and I'm glad they're here. But the reason it was clear that we couldn't join was they seem to have a different sort of philosophical take on it. So as I understand, D-Goods asset have a transferable flag, so the game can turn it on and off. They could like pause your ability to transfer an asset and then unpause it. Also, huge difference. D-Goods is a standard for contracts that every author deploys themselves. Whereas Simple Assets is like the EOS.io token contract. It's just one thing, and everybody calls it to manage their assets. So I think that being just one contract just gives users a lot more certainty in their ownership. They don't have to go and see if like, this author's deployment has some modification that might interfere with my ownership.
Yeah, that's very good input.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's from my perspective, it makes total sense to have one contract to call, one contract to update with things that needs to be fixed. And soon, if you have a lot of them, some will. Sure, the positive thing, you can add a feature that the other ones don't have, but you also, when there's an update, you have to align that with all. Yeah, it will be confusing. Perhaps they have a good solution for it, but from my perspective, it doesn't sound like the right way to go for a lot of assets. Perhaps it makes sense for one game, for one developer of a game.
Yeah. If you look back to CS:GO, I think that was the year 2013, or if you look back even to the late 90s, like this is how I think about digital assets and where blockchain fits in. So if you think all the way back to Legend of Zelda, I think that was like 1996 or something. Maybe you weren't even alive yet. Maybe you were. Like Legend of Zelda, you could get a sword or a hat or a shield or a bow and arrow, and it was unique, and it kind of felt like an object, and you could drop it and lose it in the game, I think, if I remember correctly. So like that's already a digital asset, although it's confined to the game. And then sort of like the next level up is CS:GO 2013, where you can have skins and there's some common language for the skins where they exist in the game, but they can also be traded in the third-party marketplace. No blockchain needed, but already you have digital assets that can exist outside the game just because you created a common language. What the blockchain does is give two things, like a transparent ledger, which it creates this huge amount of transparency, which is great. But more importantly, it gives a certainty of ownership. And that was our like foundational principle for simple assets.
Yeah, I mean, I played the CS:GO. I played CS:GO and I participated in it, but the trading of skins never grew on me. I didn't find it interesting. But World of Warcraft, I played that a lot, and that marketplace or that economy is huge. At least it was back in the days, and I know that people like Brock Pierce used to have he used to trade from another MMORPG, but I know that he went into gold trading on World of Warcraft as well. And there's farms in China where they hire people to just farm gold on World of Warcraft.
I've read about that. It's amazing.
It is amazing actually. It's a game. And no transparency, so Blizzard could say, hey, now we have more gold here or we have less, and they can't really do anything about it, or they can take your items away, or they can so there's a lot of sense to have this transparency and the blockchain layer for these assets that people work hard for sure. I know that you wanted to talk about this because you watched my last video with Jonah, and he had some comments about Simpleassets, and I know that you wanted to straighten them out from your perspective, and let's do it.
Yeah, well, it's a nice compliment that they Atomic Assets adopted sort of the same general structure that Simpleassets did. Like not the individual contract, but one contract and sort of like our general architecture. It's also a nice compliment that they use a lot of the same variable names that we do. We take a lot of pride in naming our variables. I was a little bit shocked by the video, which I watched just yesterday. So I've been kind of neutral towards Atomic Assets, but I'm afraid my impression has soured just a little bit, because I thought their characterization of Simpleassets ranged from uncharitable, sort of broadly characterizing our design decisions as mistakes. Those are all design decisions which I think we got right, and I'll be happy to defend, to saying things that are preposterously untrue. So let me take this opportunity to give Yona a stern finger wagging. Here, Yona, don't say things that are not true about Simpleassets. and congratulations on the launch. And I'm very grateful to you, Anders, because I think you're gonna be the great communicator here, and you're gonna give people a fair look at these asset standards. Because I would hate for any artist or any game developer to choose the NFT standard based solely on his comments. The most egregious of which was saying that Simpleassets has some huge flaw, saying that there's an insurmountable exploit that can be triggered just by sending an asset to a store and then withdrawing it repeatedly will inevitably exploit your RAM. That is preposterous. Tens of thousands of Simpleassets have been sent to and withdrawn from Collectibles.io, GPK Market, Simple Market, Kolobok. So my challenge to Yona is just articulate this exploit. I think you're completely wrong. There is no such exploit, and you're just overstepping your bounds in promoting your own standard. So that was the big one. Saying that there's some insurmountable exploit. So after I watched that yesterday, we did have to take a closer look at atomic assets, and I would like to offer these points for consideration. I think most of atomic assets can be like a front end to Simpleassets. We impose very little structure on your assets. So if you wanted to, for example, serialize data, you could do that. If you wanted to call something a collection, you could do that. Or if you wanted to officially stamp something as limited edition, you could do that too. Perhaps what we at Cryptolions did wrong is we thought game developers would be the pioneers here. So we were sending people to our README, but it turns out that visual artists are the pioneers. So we did not build the tools to make Simpleassets very accessible. But any of that collection stuff, limited edition, even serializing data, it's all doable with just a carefully designed interface for Simpleassets. The RAM stuff. Okay, so atomic assets lets authors pay for RAM. Really cool. Great job, guys. If it would have been gentlemanly of you to send us a pull request into our GitHub with the 25 lines of code needed for us to do that as well. But that's okay. We'll write that ourselves. In fact, it's already working for GPK cards.
And yeah, I know you deployed that not long ago. So all GPK trades from now on the RAM is already paid for them.
Yeah, and it'll be like that for all the authors, except we will make it optional. We will not force authors to pay. We'll make it optional, because I can certainly imagine use cases for indie game developers, or maybe some game that allows users to create limitless NFTs. Maybe some games will want users to pay. So we'll give users the option. I can go on. I don't know. I don't want to be too negative.
Yeah, I think it's important that you got the space to respond to those what Jonah said, accusations or whatever we want to call them. I think it's good that you got the opportunity to actually say, from your perspective, you have the knowledge of Simpleassets. Were they correct? What are you doing? How have you fixed it? Okay, now the offer can pay for all the RAM. We have solved this issue. We had some disconnect, but we are back now. It was a short disconnect. It's okay. Perhaps he was DDoS now. It was just a line break. It's fine.
And let me continue. Actually, I feel the need to respond in kind, because it has been brought to my attention that Jonas has not just been saying these things, but writing them repeatedly in Telegram. So there's that. The RAM in atomic assets, I am sorry to say, and we just discovered this morning, is not as clean as they indicate. If you send an atomic asset to somebody who has never held an atomic asset, you, the sender, and not the author will pay for a small amount of RAM to create a table on that user's scope. It's not a large amount of RAM, but if you send to a lot of people, it can add up, and it is RAM that's very hard to free up because the recipient would have to get rid of their atomic asset and then run a little known and little used command to close the table. These are not insurmountable problems. The pink team, they seem like really sharp guys, so I'm sure they'll figure out a way. But it's not as clean as they point out. Oh, and by the way, if you want to save yourself a little trouble, just look at the simple asset repository. I think the most parsimonious way to fix this problem would be to just copy our offer claim functionality.
Okay, that's there. And we have, if we had some effect, it would be like a drumstick. No, but it's good. And what I like here is, okay, you found this issue, you have this response because you feel attacked by these comments that they're saying that their solutions is better than yours. And the bad part about me, I'm as far as you can get from a maximalist of anything. I'm not a maximalist of any token or any technology. I just love everything that makes it interesting and bring use cases. So I yeah.
You are going to be a phenomenal referee, and you're gonna help the community make important decisions.
Yeah,
I think that let me articulate the sort of neutral differences, which might be like fertile ground for future content. Okay, so Atomic Asset has built into it an exchange and the ability to back NFTs with tokens. We have built into Simpleassets lending and containerization. All right, I'm gonna justify our decision, which I think is the right one, and then I'm sure that as these conversations keep going, they'll justify their decision. So as far as exchanges go, we didn't want to privilege our exchange over any other. We want competition. And boy, do we have it. The GPK market guys, incredible community management, incredible like understanding of the sort of GPK culture.
yeah. I think they have like 87% of the simple asset market right now, or something like that.
I think your little algorithm is counting auctions incorrectly. So, but we could talk. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
We also have competition from Saeed, who may be like the single best well-rounded developer in our community. That guy can do everything: back end, front end, blockchain,
and he does it
carry
like
on a
this.
conversation in Telegram. Yeah. So okay, so we didn't want to privilege Simple Market, although we do think it's awesome. So check out Simple Market. That's why we didn't include an exchange for baking tokens, or what they call backing tokens with crypto. That is a simple third-party application, and it's on the roadmap that we published in May. We received some criticism for making the lending of simple assets part of the protocol, and I'll tell you why that needs to be part of the protocol. Contrary to yesterday's interview, it does not create a whole bunch of edge cases which a developer needs to worry about. It creates one sort of case where when you receive a token or an NFT, a game would just have to check and say, is this in the table of lent tokens? And if it is, just ignore it if you don't want to deal with it. And if you do want to deal with it, then you only have the edge cases that you should have, like when does the expiration date, when can it be taken back? The reason lending, in my view, definitely needs to be part of the NFT protocol is because we wanted two things to be true. We want ownership to remain absolute, and we want the owner to be able to take back the NFT no matter where it is after the lending period has expired. So I don't see, if lending is not part of the protocol, I don't see how the true owner will ever take back the NFT after it has expired. I think the best you could do is just have some deposit. And like if he can't get the NFT, he'll get the deposit or something like that, which isn't a horrible solution. But I think the best solution is allowing the true owner to take back the NFT after the period has expired. This is sort of over the horizon stuff. like NFT lending might be something that our kids are like, it might be a career for our kids. So right now we're speculating on how it might look, in the future, but that was our thinking. That was why we put it in the protocol.
Yeah, I don't think that Blizzard anticipated gold mining farms in China, so we don't know where this is taking us. So it's very interesting, and I think it's good comments, and that you can clear it out. And I also wanna say that you want to clear out these things, but we're not doing this with bad intention. It's just that there were some statements and they had to be cleared out. So it's very, very nice.
Competition is good. I think what we can be certain of is that the community will be well served.
Yeah, I think so too, because recently you put out the creator for NFTs as well. You have it in beta, and I just went in there today and I saw it the first day it launched. I tested and I created an asset with it. It worked fine. It was really easy.
Yeah.
For me, it was easy. I may be more used to simpler interfaces than some of the creators that we see out there. And today it looked way better.
Yeah, today, well, by the time you publish this video, we're going to get Wax Cloud Wallet working with it. It's embarrassing that we don't have that. And we're going to shift our focus to making a lot of tools for artists. I think that was a mistake on our part. We thought we would be firstly serving game developers, and we do have a number of games being built with Simpleassets, but it seems like there's a lot of energy coming from artists. And to all of the artists who I sent to a GitHub repository, I want to apologize. You should never send an artist to a GitHub repository and tell them to read the README. That's a horrible thing to do. So Giselle, Curti, Pedro, Wizard, all of you, I apologize for doing that. We're gonna build graphical user interfaces to make Simpleassets easily accessible.
Yeah, that's very good, because when you're new, when you don't have experience with reading code, GitHub is programming. It's very complicated because you don't understand where to find things, you don't understand where to read. I mean, someone now if you go to GitHub to your, it's just a document. It's like a blog text, so it's not that difficult, but there's a lot of tables and words and things. But if you read a JSON file, which basically is just symbols and text, it's very, very simple to read. That's programming for most users.
Yes.
It's nonsense. They can't make sense of the text. And for anyone that is used to look at symbols and code, it's just as easy to read that, especially if you open it in Firefox that make this nice graphics of it. So yeah, I think it's the good way to go, the right way to go, to make the interface simple and use. And I think that's something Atomic Hub and Atomic Asset did correctly now with the launch. It's very simple to go in and to launch an asset. And very simple. You just go in, you click upload, and it's uploaded to an IPFS node, and everything pretty much works out of the gate. There was some aspect, okay, what is a schema, what is a collection, what is a template? You need to understand these things. You had to have a description to understand the aspects. But when you did that, it was pretty simple. And I'm really happy to hear that you're working towards the same direction to help the creators, the designers, to launch their stuff on a blockchain, because I think it's the future. I mentioned this in the Telegram today. I think that we have this content creation, this economy in the world where users on Twitch, on YouTube, they go and podcast, they go and they pay the creator with fees, they pay them on Patreon or subscribe, and they get some extra content and things. What they all should get is an NFT from that creator, and that NFT is sold by the creator get the money, and the user can sell that later as memorabilia. I mean, it's speculated. It's how it should be done. You should just add an NFT, because then you have something, you get something, even if you don't want to sell it. After a while, you have these old ones. Oh, look, I was here from the beginning. I have this cool one, and instantly, if this goes up, imagine having Joe Rogan's. He has an NFT, the first episode. Some users get it today. He signs $100 million contract with Spotify. You can sell this NFT probably for more than you paid for it from the start.
Yeah, those new use cases, like that's what's most exciting. Like when you see people start changing their behaviors because new things are possible.
Yeah.
What I'm looking forward to seeing is two things. I want to see the first game or the first bunch of games sharing NFTs.
Yeah.
So you have one supply of stuff, and then you can take it out of one game and into another because a bunch of indie game developers are collaborating.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to see, and man, we're actually helping a non-blockchain company come to wax. Although they're a little stuck right now. They have some IP issues to deal with, but we're in the process of helping them tokenize items in a non-blockchain application. So they have a little
Very
game
nice.
that you have on Android or iOS, and they're just going to put stuff in the game into escrow, and then when it goes into escrow, it generates a coupon, and that coupon's an NFT. The coupon can circulate, and then if somebody cashes in the coupon, they're notified, and they get to pull the item out of escrow in their game and give it to a user. So that's sort of like a really sort of arm's distance way that a non-blockchain game can integrate with blockchain.
Yeah,
And we're building
that's very good.
Yeah, we're building some general purpose infrastructure that anybody will be able to use. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Hey, it sounds very exciting, and I think that for a lot of game, what makes sense is to use the blockchain the correct way. Like if we asked back 2 years ago, they wanted to launch everything on chain, and I don't think that is the correct way. You want to use the chain for what it does best.
I'll pass your advice on to the prospectors guys.
Yeah,
which is like the most insanely on-chain game like ever.
Yeah, it is, and I actually think that some games could work on chain when it's turn-based and it should take time, but the user experience will never be as good as if it's not.
Yeah. Although I am a fan of prospectors, I think they've done great work, and I'm looking forward to a relaunch that I think is coming in a couple of months.
Yeah, and I'm all up for a lot of things that, like, I mean, I'm collecting GPKs now. I have like almost 80 fat mats. It's my spirit animal. I have all of them, and I really don't understand collecting anything. It's like it doesn't make sense for me. But still, here I have a few, and I found it really funny. I just drop into GPK chat from now and then. I just drop a picture or a gif or something of Fat Matt, and I just go out of there, and I just keep doing that, and I just find it fun. Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I think that this ecosystem, how they use the games and how the blockchain will be used, is very fun, for sure. Like the tower defense that's coming, the HTML5 game that's coming, that runs off-chain, but wants to incorporate leaderboards and tournaments on-chain, so they can monetize the game on-chain, but they can have the user experience that is good for a phone and for a desktop off-chain. So I think that's very cool if they manage to deliver on this. So that's very good. One question I want to ask you, because you are one of the right guys to answer this. What is the measured top transactions per second result we have seen on EOS.io so far? Oh, I hit you on the spot now. Can you answer it to the exact?
No, the closest I could get is I think 9,400 something. I couldn't tell you exactly.
I can give you an exact one. It's 9,656 because someone made some NFTs for it a few days ago. So I know it for sure.
Is that right? When we did the stress testing in the jungle, we had to change some parameters to get it up that high.
Yeah, and this number, the 9,000 number, it's a lot of tweaked settings to get it. It would probably not reach the same amount. In
February of this year, we reached 9,656.
Yeah. And that number may not happen on one of the active mainnets because you need a lot of things to go your way to reach these numbers. But it's still a fun number. If we can't count the the failed transaction, we get a way higher number, the deferred transactions.
Yeah, you could do it in sort of a not completely honest way, and then get over the big 10,000 landmark. But I don't know if we want to do that.
No, not really. I don't think so. It's mostly fun for us, the technical guys, but we can see that the potential is there to increase this further. So it's very interesting. So you're building the koloboks game that is. Let's take that again. What is coming? And you said that you can actually get rewarded in cryptocurrency. What does that mean?
We made a new in-game currency called koloboks, and right now all you can do is earn koloboks.
It's mining.
And you earn them by sending your first breeding koloboks, then sending your koloboks on adventures to win prizes. But be careful, your kolobok may get killed.
And if they get killed, is it gone?
It's not gone, but it's dead. Later, you may be able to pay some koloboks to resurrect your kolobok. So that will probably be a first use case to use the money in game. But for now, we're just issuing a bounty program. So you send them on adventures, you collect prizes, and periodically the bounty changes. So different prizes are requested. And if you have them, you send them in exchange for koloboks. The Kolobok universe is going to grow very slowly and very steadily, but it's sort of like an outlet for our creativity. Sometimes you need to work on hard problems. Sometimes you need to work on fun problems. So it kind of gives us a little balance.
Yeah, for sure. That's very nice.
So that's Kolobok. I actually do have a number of announcements. If I could take advantage of
let's do it.
Of the platform you've given me. Simple Market, just in time for the GPK, the next version or the next series launching. We will finally have filters following in the footsteps of Saeed and GPK Market. Let me just say, you guys kicked our butts on that. So congratulations to Collectibles, to GPK Market. You kicked our butts. We had to move from MongoDB to Elasticsearch. It took like 20 times longer than we had hoped, but we will have filters working, so that'll be fun. We will have a few pages of premium sellers. So a few of our active community members will be able to have their own like seller pages on Simple Market.
That's very cool.
Yep. And then Simpleassets. Let's talk about Simpleassets. The standard memory stuff will be deployed soon, so that any author can. So optionally, authors can choose whether they pay for transfers or they have users pay for transfers. By the time this airs, simpleassets.io, new and improved simpleassets.io has a beautiful landing page. Check it out. It has documentation that's good and going to get a lot better. All the questions we get asked, we're going to add pages to that documentation. And you can also use simpleassets.io to link to the Wax creator, which we're building and which we're going to improve upon. And just a general announcement, we didn't build tools for artists. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that next. That's
awesome. This is a lot of content from a get-go. Bam! I think we need. Okay, when you see this is a clip. We have cut this out just to put out the video about all these announcements that are coming. So that's very good. Very exciting stuff indeed. I think you're doing a good job with these improvements. And man, if we go back a few months, the Simple Market had a few transactions here and there, and then May 12th. Bam! And we have a few 100,000 wax being transferred like this, and users. There was a lot of. I know that you got a lot of feedback from a lot of people in no time these first few days there.
It was fun. It helps a lot when you love what you do, and I'm in that fortunate situation.
Yeah, that's very very fun, very good. I'm very excited about all these things, and for me personally, I love to see what you will bring for the creators. I love it. I don't know. I have one more question. We just had these announcements that you're gonna drop now. what's coming beyond that? What's your dream? What's your vision? Where are we going with everything Cryptolions are doing?
I could talk for a long time. I don't know if you're. I think at this point we need to wind down this discussion.
Yes.
It's been just over an hour.
Let's take a short one.
Yeah. Well, I want to make it not just possible, but easy for people to tokenize non-blockchain stuff. And man, I really want to build Deru. I've been talking about Deru since 2018. It's sort of an on-chain justice system, and it'll really enable a lot more. Like you could just create a promise that people can sue for if you break it. So longer term, it's those two things: tokenizing non-blockchain stuff and building a legal system that all the marketplaces can take advantage of. It'll help the whole trust thing even more. Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good. So we have actual contracts that works on the blockchain later, not just the smart contracts for the techies. So that's very nice. Thank you for your time, Roman. And I'm sure that a lot of people will appreciate this. And we have a lot of content that we need to cut out from this and make a few short videos, not just one long. We have a few ones. So that's very exciting, very fun. And thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.